Hello, UCAR. Peter Christensen here, coming to you from the CEO's desk. Happy day to you, or evening, whenever you're watching this. Today we're going to talk about 3 tips when using the blank addendum. So 3 tips to observe when using the blank addendum. So this is you get that blank addendum and you can do whatever you want with it, right? Within reason. And so yeah, caveat at the beginning: if that addendum's given to you to use as a tool, don't abuse it. If you're trying to do something too crazy, too out there, you're not comfortable as an agent doing it, understanding how it works or making sure it's being executed the way you want it to or your client wants it to, the fallback is always to suggest having an attorney help write some of the language. Okay, that's my caveat at the beginning. So 3 things to look for, to be aware of. Number 1, always know whether you're dealing with a counteroffer or a standalone addendum. So obviously, if it's a counteroffer, you got to be aware of what was in the original offer, because as the document says, anything not contradicted in your offer, your counteroffer, will be assumed to be applicable to your counteroffer. So it gets all pulled in by checking that box counter. You're pulling in any terms you don't contradict that are attached to it. So always check that, and then check too if it's a counteroffer. Check if you receive it and your client wants to accept it. You got to look at that acceptance deadline. Okay, that brings me to number 2. Always be aware of dates. Check for dates in the counteroffer in the addendum. If you are referencing a date, make sure you're aware of when that date falls. If you are changing a date, look at what it does. If you're changing the finance and appraisal deadline, for instance, make sure you're not doing that so now it falls after the settlement deadline, because that wouldn't make any sense. That's going to be really hard to do. So you got to be aware when working with dates that how it's all being affected. If there and then another thing concerning dates, if there is an action to be taken, so you are asking for a document, you are asking for the other party to complete an assignment prior to settlement, then then is there a deadline? Are you going to put a deadline in there? By when? And you can consider maybe tying it to an existing deadline. That's always tidy. Seller agrees to do X, Y, and Z prior to the finance and appraisal deadline. Just make it neat that way. But be aware, sometimes we see these where it says one party is going to do something, but it never says by when. And we get confusion when that happens. So look at the dates, make sure they all work together. If you're changing a date, make sure you're aware of the other dates and that it's still compliant and works with all the other dates. And then my last tip, number 3, is to number your concepts. So item number 1, and you write it out. This is item number 1. Number 2, item number 1, leave the piano. Number 2, seller to pay closing costs up to X amount. Number 3, whatever. I like that because it's so easy to deal with when you receive a numbered list like that. No to 1, yes to 2, yes to 3. Yeah, you can counter that way. And the other thing I like that it does is it bundles concepts together. So if you want, say, some price change or money change, but you're kind of tying it with a date change, in your mind, they go together. Then put those in one. You can put those in one numbered concept, and that way you're alerting the other side. If you don't agree to one part of this, then we don't want you to agree to any of it. So just makes it, again, a little tidy that way. But I love numbering and then renumbering it if you counter, so that it's just giving you ultimate clarity. We're agreeing to this. We're changing number 2 to be this way, we're agreeing to number 3. That's it. Those are my top 3 tips for using the blank addendum. Remember, this is not legal advice. This is legal information only. If you need specific legal advice, please contact your attorney. Leave us a comment if you have any posts you'd like us to cover, any ideas you'd like us to cover. And thanks for tuning in today.